Welcome to another episode of the Blank Canvas, a project brought to you by Blanco Solutions, focused on AI and accessibility around business infrastructure. Today's a really interesting one. I've been basically really dialing in on the density of, call it value or content per video unit, meaning every upload, trying my best to basically maximize the leverage from it. Yesterday was the first day outside of 2 weeks of uploading every day. And today we're going to talk about growth systems. So what is a growth system, right? There's a few different, I want to say rising definitions around this. It's specifically focusing on GTM, which is go-to-market sort of product/service offerings. Go-to-market strategy is essentially focused on all right, so now we have this new offering, new piece within an existing organization. How can we take that to the market and really actively introduce it in a really good way? So that's crafting value prop, that's establishing pricing, establishing distribution, establishing the marketing side of things, really giving a full picture of things, right? So in order to do that accurately, one company I wanted to highlight today, Myoprocess. They just hit $1 million annual recurring revenue, which was really interesting because a lot of their copy and a lot of what they do is incorporating this sort of lead gen agency approach, which is fascinating because, obviously it focuses a lot on the numbers. But the biggest piece here is it outlines, going down to the how we work, how they use AI to basically bridge that and make it happen. The problem with that, saying we use AI for growth systems, can mean a number of things. For our sake and purposes, thinking of it in the frame of digital employees is really helpful because it mirrors a lot of the language that we see already, right? So with SDRs, sales development reps, business development reps, anyone that's actively pushing people to the market, they focus on a few different pieces, right? So for here, being able to capture and triage well, that's really a muscle of marketing, right? So when people come in and they're interested, how do we actively engage with them? Push them to the CRM, right? How do we notify the people relevant to it in terms of segment, the source, the pain, the role, the timeline, the budget, getting a good gauge of that? For a lot of companies, they do this manually over phone call after phone call. What we're aiming to do here is showcase how you can do that with AI, specifically with questionnaires or funnel design, things like that. The next piece is being able to score it and enrich it. So based on how the propensity of that deal moving forward relative to the business, I can then run it through the token intensive verification process. So check the email, figure out anything else I need relevant to them, and be able to then personalize that. So then go dig, relevant to their profile, find the hooks that are relevant, the risk that is relevant, the CTAs that are also most impactful for them. And then once they're engaged, being able to see that quality over time, we're then able to focus on nurturing and nudging them towards, actually moving forward in the deal pipeline. Right. And of course, there's all those other elements too about booking, proposal based, even just having an eyeball over it in terms of a daily digest. The principle kind of look at here is we're developing champions, all right? So in order to do that well, in order to have a process that is done well, there has to be a few different pieces. So these guys, they charge quite the premium because they have individual people basically looking at account by account and applying these processes together. Their kind of argument is remember that digital employee anchor? Instead of paying for payroll, benefits, severance, and opportunity cost, have certainty that this system is an SDR that functions like an AI digital employee and actually moves them along the line. So how do they do that? They work with signals. They qualify by hand, which is interesting. Signals is kind of the key piece, which we'll dive deeper in. I think specifically when it comes to signals, we're looking for how well does this individual person, or even like call it an ICP, ideal customer profile, how well do they signal that they actually need what you're offering? So what are we offering, right? That was a very general kind of open inspiration piece with GTM engineers and whatnot. For our sake and purposes, we're looking at lead infrastructure, right? How can we drive revenue to a business and ensure that it's actually captured and move forward within the business, right? So with my, as you see in my eyes, I'm just getting over a cold. Um, a big piece of that is actually that qualify by hand is truthfully having a conversation. So it's actually qualified by mouth, which is talking to them and having a real consultative approach to being like, all right, how can I actually help this person? Timing, context, and need generally shows that, like, sure, if you generated 70 new leads for them tomorrow, that could be great for some people. That can be an absolute nightmare for some. So these systems, while they work great, in the bigger context of business and decision-making trees, it's important to kind of understand these roadmaps work hand in hand. So today's a short one. Gonna get back into recovery, and then going into the coming week, we'll be diving a lot more into what this looks like as we finish that questionnaire. So until then, see you guys in the next one.